Hey everyone, since this week we happen to have had a full moon, I thought this would be a great chance to tell you a little bit about the moon. The first bit of trivia is that our moon is actually only 1/4 the diameter of the Earth. But to us, it appears pretty bright. The moon itself does not emit light like a sun, but what it does is it reflects the sun's light. And since it's really close to us, it seems pretty bright in the sky. The moon orbits around the Earth in a slightly oval path, also called an elliptical orbit. It takes 29.5 days for the moon to make a complete orbit around the Earth. So therefore, it takes about 29.5 days for the moon to go through all of its phases. So let's say from one full moon until the next full moon takes about 29.5 days, which for us is about 30 days. Here's a calendar for April. All 29.5 days of the phases of the moon are shown here. You might notice there was a full moon on April 7th, and in about 30 days, on May 7th, we will see the next full moon. This past full moon was called a supermoon because not only was it a full moon, but it was closer than normal to the Earth. Remember when I said the moon was going around the Earth in an elliptical orbit? Well, it does, but the Earth is slightly off-center of the orbit. The point of the orbit closest to the Earth is called the perigee. On the left of the diagram, and that is where we sometimes get supermoons. On the opposite side, the right side, the apogee, is the farthest point from the Earth, and that is when we get micromoons. It's when the full moon actually looks the smallest. So during a supermoon, when the moon is closest to the Earth, it actually looks bigger and brighter than the average moon. Compared to the micromoon, the supermoon is 14% bigger and 30% brighter. We were lucky this week when the supermoon was closest to us, but you know what? It kept its social distance of more than 6 feet. If you got a chance to watch it this past week, the full moon happened right after sunset. Another fact, if after the sun goes down in the west and you look and you see a moon coming up in the east, it will always be a full moon. This week's full moon was called the pink moon, and not that it didn't have a little bit of a reddish or orangish glow as it was rising just above the horizon. But it's actually called the pink moon because it's the time of the year when there's a lot of flowers blooming, especially like the pink flowers, like the pink phlox. April's full moon is sometimes called the fish moon, the egg moon, and the sprouting grass moon. This is a great photo here of the pink supermoon, and it was taken by Mr. Kitterman's niece, Tara Hall. And it was near Fort Scott. First, I want to explain a little bit on how we see colors in the sky. When the sunlight strikes our atmosphere and all the gas molecules in there, like nitrogen and oxygen, the light of longer wavelengths like red and orange and yellow, they just pass right on through. But the shorter wavelengths like blue and violet, they get absorbed and get scattered in all directions. So when you look up in the sky during the day, this scattering of blue and violet light reaches our eyes, but fortunately we are more receptive to blue frequencies, and so the sky looks blue to us. This is a picture I took on the east side of Caney as the sun was setting this past week. During sunsets and sunrises, when the sun is closer to the horizon, the sunlight has to travel through a really long distance through the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is more dense before it reaches our eyes. Well, this allows the light to get diffused and scattered so much that those shorter wavelengths, blue, violet, and green, are almost scattered away multiple times. And what's left behind is the longer wavelengths like red, orange, and yellow. And they pass straight on through to our eyes. And that's why we see those colors at sunrise and sunset. Because of refraction, the sunlight or sun may be seen for several minutes before it actually rises in the morning or after it sets in the evening. So in that last picture I showed you of the sun setting, the sun you're seeing is actually geometrically below the horizon. We're just seeing the light coming off of the sun, and it's being bounced around and refracted in our atmosphere and gives us an illusion of seeing it. So really, it's below the horizon, and we think it's above the horizon. And that's why after the sun goes down, we can still see some light coming from the sun until it finally fades away. And even though the sun is below the horizon, we cannot see it anymore, the light still is being refracted. And so we're seeing this, and we call it twilight. I took this on the west side of Caney out by the sand hills. But you may have noticed that when the moon rises above the horizon, it looks really huge. You know that that's kind of an optical illusion, that the moon and the sun look really large even when it's on the horizon. And that's because we have other things to compare it to, like a tree or a house. And so it seems like the moon looks so huge compared to it. But if you actually measured the size of the moon when it was on the horizon, and then later on measured it when it was up in the sky a lot higher, it would actually be the same size. Just like the photo on the right there, it is tricking us to think that the lines are actually two different lengths, but really they're just the same size. I mentioned the next full moon we will see will be on May 7th, but that officially starts at 5:45 a.m. in the morning. Most of us probably will wait till the evening to see that. So be looking out for that. And it will be called the flower moon. Now this May moon is also going to be a supermoon, but it's not going to be quite as bright as the April 7th pink supermoon. If we want to find one like that, we have to wait a whole nother year in May to see a supermoon as bright as the pink supermoon. Okay, my next bit of trivia about moons is about a blue moon. Well, first, a blue moon is not really blue. It's called a blue moon because it will be the second of two full moons to occur in a singular calendar month. And the next blue moon will come on October 31st of this year, 2020. We had one blue moon back in 2015, and there were two blue moons in 2018. The next blue moon we will see after this October will actually be in August of 2023. Every now and then a month will not have a full moon, and they call this lack of a full moon a black moon. About once every 19 years, February does not have a full moon. Instead, there are two full moons in January and then two full moons in March, and we call those a double blue moon. The next black moon by this definition will occur in the year 2037. And the last so-called black moon was actually in 2018. And for my last bit of moon trivia, I want to share has to do with Easter. Did you know that Easter has to do with astronomy? Easter is always decided by the first day of spring, which is the vernal equinox, and a full moon. So here's how it works. The first Sunday after the first full moon that falls after the first day of spring will be Easter. So this year, the first day of spring was March 19th. The full moon after that was on April 7th. And therefore Easter is Sunday, April 12th. And I find that very exciting. Well, I hope you learned a little something about the moon, and that's the end. Have a good day.